People will read every word of a 400-page book if it's enthralling. Your ads must enthrall. Hello, and welcome back to SHATTERPOINT Conversions. As always, I am your host, Michael Kassman, and today we're going to be doing some question and answers. These are questions that I've gotten either from my clients or from fellow copywriters, fellow marketers, and advertisers. I hope to shine a light on some things that I think will really help you. If you're watching this, you're probably in marketing, you're probably in advertising, copywriting, maybe you're a business owner. I'm hopeful that by answering these questions that I will indirectly answer some of your questions. So before we do that though, if you could please subscribe to the show if you haven't already and like this episode, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me a lot and it helps me reach you and other people with this information. So please do that. And now let's jump into the Q&A. Right off the bat, I want to tackle one of the biggest questions that I get. It happens over and over and over again, and I think this question will continue to come up for as long as people are around. It was a debate 100 years ago, it's still a debate today. I think it's going to be a debate 200 years from now. And the question is, which is better, long copy or short copy? I've addressed this multiple times before, and I'm going to give you the same answer that I always have, except this time I'm going to lead with an example. A lot of people think that because attention spans are getting shorter, copy must be short. They're like, oh, well, people can only focus for 6 seconds, so I need my ad to be 6 seconds or less. Not necessarily. What you need is to hook their attention. That's what has to happen within the first 6 seconds. Within seconds, you have to draw the person into your advertisement. Once they have invested their attention, if you can keep their attention, then they will read as much of your copy as you write, as long as it's relevant and as long as it keeps them engaged. You want proof of this? Look at the bestseller list. If there are books out there that are hundreds of pages long, that are bestsellers, it means that even today, when attention spans are 6 seconds? Even today, people are able to read through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages if they're interested, if they're invested, if it's something that brings them joy. For the right reasons, people will spend hours and hours and hours reading a book, right? They'll do the same thing for your advertisement as long as your advertisement does something similar for them. Obviously, an advertisement is about getting your prospect to convert, so it's not just about pleasing the audience or entertaining the audience or educating the audience. It's about creating action. And so it's not exactly the same, but the concepts are the same. I remember sitting down and listening to a seminar by Gary Halbert, and he addressed this question head on. And he was going on a Halbert rant. And he mentioned that he's written promotional material, advertisements, for the health industry that were 12, 24, 50, 80 pages long. 80 printed pages for an advertisement. When most people talk long copy, they don't typically mean that long. But just for the sake of example, Gary Halbert talked about how he was writing promotions for the health niche that were 80 pages long. And then he said every time he reran the promotion, but he made it longer, every time it performed better. The 12 outperformed the 5-pager, the 24 outperformed the 12, and on and on and on. And he even went so far as to say, even when they pushed it up to 98 pages, it still only increased the conversions. And this gets to a principle of copywriting, which is the more you tell, the more you sell. Now, we're going to look at this from the other side of the equation, because you can't just write as much as you want and expect people to read it all. That's stupid. People don't care that much about you that they're just going to read your ramblings for as long as you desire. The only way you can make long copy work is if it's a masterpiece. What I always tell copywriters, my fellow marketers, what I always tell them is, if you're going to write long, it had better be damn good. It had better be so riveting, so engaging. Every single word contributes to something to the reader. If you can do all of that and you can write long copy, well, you're a master, and that's impressive. I know in a lot of examples that I've seen, long copy is actually long-winded copy. It's not long because it takes a long time to tell the story. It's long because the writer was lazy and it didn't take the time to prune down the sales message to its most essential and powerful elements. They ran around on tangents telling unnecessary details just because, in my opinion, they did this because they like the sound of their own voice. They like the sound of their own brand. They like to flex their brand image. They like to flex their brand personality. And while both of those things are important, if they begin to take center stage in your advertisement, well, now you've lost track of what's most important, because center stage is about creating a conversion, right? It's not about displaying your brand prowess or titillating your own sense of being a writer. That's not what this is about. So long copy can be great if the copy is phenomenal. On the flip side, short copy. If you test long versus short, it's really going to depend on, first of all, your audience and how good the copy is. Because if you're writing short copy, it could do well, or let's say that the copy is still bad. It doesn't matter how short it is, it's not going to work. If your copy is terrible, even if it takes 3 seconds to read the message, which is, well under the attention span, if the copy is bad, then people won't read past the first couple words. They won't give it the time of day because the fact that it's bad is going to turn them off, right? So in answer to the question, is long better than short? It really depends. Is long better than short? Yes. That's my answer. Yes. They're both good. They both have a time and place in the sales process. But, some audiences are going to react differently to different forms of copy. Agora, people who subscribe to Agora and follow Agora, they expect very, very long form promotional pieces. That's just part of what the audience expects. And so if you send out a super short form ad, it's probably going to bomb, honestly. But there are other audiences out there, other businesses, other types of industry where you're not going to have people who will sit down and read 90 pages of an ad. They just won't do it. They need something that's short, that's quick, that's punchy, that hits hard, gets to the point, removes all of the fluff, and you just have to know your audience. And another principle you can use when it comes to, do I write long or do I write short is, well, what does the offer demand? If it's a low-level offer or even a free offer, you don't need to write 10 pages of copy. You can write 10 sentences. Again, if it's low level, low commitment, don't go bananas trying to write a full-length promo to promote something that really doesn't merit that. If you go to somebody and you're like, hey, can I borrow 25 cents? You don't need to go on a 10-minute story explaining why you need the 25 cents. The person's going to get sick and tired of you and they might get pissed off and they might refuse to give you a quarter, right? But if you need to ask somebody for, $250,000, well, now you're going to need some serious explanation. It's going to take days, weeks, months. You're going to have to provide documentation. You're going to have to provide an explanation. You're going to have to come up with a payment plan. All of this stuff. So the copy needs to correspond with the weight of the offer. Another consideration. No matter what you do, whether you do long or short copy, you have to keep your copy concise. Concise is not the same thing as short. Short just means use few words. Whenever I think about short copy, I always think about the episode from The Office where Kevin is trying to save time by cutting out all of the quote-unquote unnecessary words in his sentences. And then his communication becomes even more unintelligible than it already was because he's Kevin and he's built different, right? But that's just I love using that example of short doesn't equal good. Short copy can be bad copy. Exhibit A, Kevin from The Office. Good copy is concise, and concise means that you are using the perfect amount of words to express the story in its completion. Whatever it takes to get the sales message across, you use the exact amount of expression necessary and not a word more. It could be that it takes 90 pages to communicate the sales message that is necessary. That's possible. And if it is necessary, then by writing 90 pages, you can still be concise. Again, concise doesn't mean short. It just means 90 pages is the perfect amount, no more and no less, to express the fullness of the message that I want to convey. It's the same with short copy. If you're going for short copy, you are less likely to use too many words to explain something, but you could omit certain words that you should say. You might need to add another sentence to really give the story the full impact that it needs, but because you're in this, like you've got your blinders on and you're like, no, this is short copy, it must be short, must cut everything that's not essential. You might end up trimming out vital elements to the story, which means that you might be being short, but you're not being concise because now you're communicating an incomplete message. So there are ditches on both sides of the road, as you can see. What do you do about this? Well, I wish there was some sort of magic pill or golden nugget that I could give you that would forever fix this conundrum, but that's just not the case. In reality, the only way you can fix this problem of, long copy versus short copy, what do I include, what do I not include, how do I make this more powerful? It relies on, first of all, your product. It has to be a really, really good product. It has to be something that your audience really wants. Second of all, you have to have a very in-depth knowledge of your market. Because it may be irrelevant. You're debating, okay, do I do long or short copy? It's irrelevant if your audience strongly favors one over the other. If your audience likes short copy, then don't even debate long copy. Just stick with short copy and make it as concise and powerful as possible. But if you're, at a place like Agora where people expect long copy, don't debate with short copy. Just do what works. Figure out what works for your audience and then make that a framework. Do you test certain things every now and then? Of course, marketing is all about testing. But there's never going to be a final for sure answer to the question, which one is better, long or short? It depends. Mostly it depends on your audience. Great product, know your audience, and then thirdly, your copy must be pristine. It must be excellent. No matter what you do, short copy, it must be excellent or it won't work. Long copy, it's even more important that it be excellent or it won't work. People will get tired and fatigued. They're not going to stick it out and be like, oh man, I just got to make it through this advertisement, only 10 more pages, I can do this. Oh yeah, I just got to take a break, maybe do some jumping jacks and get back into it. It's like your prospects aren't going to work for you. They're not going to put in the work to read through your ad. They don't look at reading your advertisements as a privilege so that they could then have the privilege of buying from you. That's not how they think about it. John Carlton said that whenever he would sit down to write an advertisement, he would always aspire to write something that would be the highlight of someone's day. He would write the kind of ad that somebody would start reading, and then if somebody if somebody interrupted them or if they had to put it down to go do something, they would get irritated and they would think about the ad while they're doing something else and then immediately want to come back and pick up the ad and start up again. That's when you know you've really done an excellent job. That's when you know you've dialed into what I was referring to at the beginning of this episode, which is that people will read every word of a 400-page book if it's enthralling. Your ads must enthrall. Long or short, they must be enthralling. Of course, the longer the ad, the more important that enthralling element becomes. So again, let's recap to finally put a period at the end of this sentence. Long copy versus short copy, both are good, both have a place. You just have to know, one, the product, two, the offer. What does the offer merit? If it's a big offer, it needs longer copy. If it's a small offer, it needs shorter copy. 3, study the heck out of what your market audience wants and expects and give it to them. Don't try to force feed them something that they don't want. And lastly, 4, your copy must be exceptional, especially if it's going to be long. Now, there are lots of resources out there. I personally know a lot of courses and a lot of books that can help you do this. If you want to do this on your own, that's totally fine. I'd be happy to recommend some things for you. In the description below, you'll find a form. It's called the recommendation request form. Fill that out, and I'll recommend some courses that I think would be a good fit for you. I also have some resources, personally. I have a store that you can check out. I've got a book called 5 Steps to Sell that gives you the 5 essential steps to crafting an effective sales message. And then I also have what's called the War Chest. And the War Chest is an exclusive collection of courses, tools, and lessons that I've created. And I add to the War Chest once or twice a month. I throw something new in there to provide more value. And you can either pay for a monthly subscription to the War Chest, or you can buy lifetime access. Just check out the links in the description. I'll put those things that I've referenced, I'll put them in the special shout out section below. Well, I hope this has given you some more clarity on the question of long versus short copy. It's something that comes up very often in the advertising world. And, I feel very strongly about my answer. So maybe you have a different answer. If you do, drop it in the comments. And I'd love to start a discussion about this. If you liked this, then please subscribe to the show and like this episode. It means a lot to me. And, okay, I was supposed to answer a bunch of questions today, and I only got around to answering the first one. So here's what we'll do. We're going to call it here, and I will pick up on another Q&A episode where we left off. And if you could please, if you've listened to this, please let me know. Would you like for me to answer questions more in a long form format like this? Or would you like shorter 30-second tidbits to try to blow through as many questions as possible? I'm open to either one. I can see utility for both. But, giving thorough answers like this, I think might be more helpful to people. But if you could please let me know, I have the curse of knowledge here. So please tell me what you would like, and I'll see if I can oblige. I wish you many, many SHATTERPOINT conversions. I hope you'll join me next time, and take care.